this crowd has a job to do. We have a big job to do. But we come from hardy stock. You know, how many are familiar with the term hybrid vigor? Yeah? Oh, we got a few. Yeah. That's a term that ranchers use when they're mixing breeds. And Alberta's been mixing breeds for almost 100 years, over 100 years now. We started with, First Nations and Métis, and so we've blended that with immigrant wave after immigrant wave. Each one has its own distinct flavor. We actually had a lot of Americans come up early on. In fact, there was a time right at the time when we joined Confederation, there were more Americans than Canadians in the province of Alberta. And so that's very much played a big role in why Alberta is so different from the rest of Canada. And it is very, very different. We come from a heritage that is completely unlike any other province. Which is why Jason had so much trouble with us, because we don't knuckle under. We understand that freedom is not free, and it's easily lost and really hard to get back. And so we're not going to give it up as easily as a shot.
Nope. Gotta fight for it.
Right on. Gotta watch those Leduc boys. So we've got a challenge, but we're up to the task. And I see every time we have one of these meetings, it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So I'm excited. I'm excited when I see these people here. I see a lot of potential. But we are in the heart of darkness when it comes to free enterprise. We live in Edmonton. Now, I often refer to Edmonton as Mordor. And that's because we have 19 MLAs out of 20 here in Edmonton that are NDP. So you walk around on the street, you ask the average person, they're not NDP. So what happened? Why do we have so many NDP and yet we don't? And yet the majority of
cheated.
No, it's not hard. They know how to get out. They know how to work it, and they do. I've got to give them that. The unions are really good at getting out the vote, and we're not. We have to get better at it, quite frankly. And we are getting better at it, but we've got a ways to go. But it's really good to see this crowd. I see hope here. So we promised today that we were going to talk first about how constituencies work. Who here does not know what a constituency is? Okay, actually, hey, Roddy, you're supposed to be giving the talk. You're not Roddy. So, do we have a timer? I guess we don't have a timer. I'm going to have to. All right. So, Roddy, come on up here for a moment. Okay, hang on. Just, I got a couple of chairs here. Okay, I'm going to move this so we can see. Recording. All right. Can everybody see?
Yeah. Sure.
All right. Yeah. I don't know. Doesn't look like it, huh? Hello? 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 Hello?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, folks. I don't think it's very loud.
Yeah, I'll fix that.
Yeah. But I wanted to. Yeah, I wanted to. Okay. All right. We'll fight for the mic. So this here is Roddy Olson. You're looking at one of the best violinists in the Edmonton Symphony Orchestra. Roddy grew up in Edmonton. Most of us didn't, but Roddy did. And his dad came from, where did he come from? Okay, but, and then his dad? Norway, right? So, yeah, Olson's a famous Norwegian name, but mom's Ukrainian, right? So, Norwegian and Ukrainian, this is what you get. So, Roddy has been doing politics now, provincial politics. How long? When did you first? Long time. He doesn't want to tell you how long. But he knows a thing or two about how politics are done here. That's why I asked him to come up and explain how constituency associations work and how we can take control of all the CAs here in Edmonton, because we got some interesting things happening here. So I'm going to hand it over to Roddy.
Hi folks, thanks very much for coming. When I walk around and talk to people in politics, what happens is that a lot of the times they talk to me about ridings. And a riding is not a provincial term. A riding is a federal term. And we have 34 of those ridings in Alberta. So whenever we go into an election, and when we're going with the Liberals and the Conservatives and the NDP, and what we get at this particular time is Trudeau. Is that better? Okay. And we get Trudeau. When we refer to those groups that are in fact are electing individuals, those are called ridings. But in Alberta, we don't call them ridings. We call them constituency associations. And there are 87 of them in Alberta. We have 20 of them, like Vince mentioned, we have 20 of them in Edmonton. 19 of them are NDP. Now, many of you are not on boards, and you might want to get on the board. It's easier than you think. And so what it is that at the tables here, there's like 30 tables, and at each table there will be a captain. And I have cards that I would, in fact, give to all of you, the captains. And what we'll do is we'll organize it to make it easy for you people to get onto the boards. The boards all start with an AGM. Now, a lot of the constituencies...
What's an AGM? What's an AGM?
An AGM is the annual general meeting. And we have an annual general meeting of the UCP party at the River Cree in October here.
So that's the AGM for the whole party.
Yeah.
And then there's also within each constituency association, there's also AGMs, right?
That's right. We are empowered to, in fact, have an AGM for each constituency every year. Now, over the last couple of years, most of the constituencies in Alberta, they haven't done that, and the boards have been very sparse. People have not been interested. We've been cheesed off with the UCP with a lot of the stuff that they've been doing, picking fights with the nurses and the doctors and you name it. And so our boards have not been operating very effectively. Now, we're back at it to go, and we have on Thursday, we're going to be, of course, choosing a new premier. If it's Danielle, she can't be the premier just yet because she's not an MLA. So one of the MLAs, now MLA is a member of the Legislative Assembly. And in Edmonton, we have the legislature. In Ottawa, we have the parliament. So come next Thursday, if Danielle becomes the leader, then she will have to find someone to give up a seat. A couple of people have been giving up their seats. You might have heard today in the paper, a few people are not going to be running again, and some people are going to be giving up their seats effective immediately. So she will then, if she wins the vote next Thursday, she will then take one of those seats. Now, once we have our leader chosen next Thursday, then some of the CAs, or many of the CAs, will have their own AGM. Now, their own AGM, you have to notify the party. In this case, you will notify, and I will give the leaders of each group, I'll give those names and contacts, but the leader, the person that you have to notify, and some of you might know him, is Mark Jacka. And so we get hold of Mark Jacka and say, send out a notice to all the people in Meadows or Bill Woods or Rutherford or whatever it is, and let them know that we're gonna have an AGM. Now, there's 23 days that has to go by before you can have an AGM. The day that you send out the notice and the day of the vote. There's 21 days in between. Now, if you have 25 days notice or 28 days, that's okay, but you can't have less than 23. So then you have an AGM, and like I say, in one of the different CAs. Now, at the AGM, traditionally you're going to get maybe 30 or 40 people to come out. There are 30 positions that you can, is my voice too loud?
No, not at all, it's the opposite. If you can make it a little louder.
A little bit louder?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, at the AGM, there are 30 positions that can be filled. A board can be 30. What I do I'm the president of Rutherford, and in my board, what I do is people that want to be on the board, but don't necessarily want to come to every meeting, I have what is called an associate board. And they get the notices of the meetings, and they get this, that, whatever, and they can come to the meetings. The one good thing about coming to the meetings, I have them at my place, and the thing that gets all the people there is popcorn.
Secrets.
And then at the end of the meeting, crowd roar. So we've been having the meetings like during the day with the Wild Rose Party and the UCP. We've been having the meetings at my place, and we get a really good turnout. And the good thing about being on the board is that it gets you connected into the political process. As an example, if you want to know how different bills are passed, or if you want to know how legislation is created and stuff like that, and if you're a policy wonk, I call them policy wonks, I'm not interested in policy, I just want to know that it's done. But there are people that live and die with policy. Some of you might be them. We love you because you're the ones that actually get involved with the different policy organizations across Alberta. Now, you find out about that when you're on a board, and we get you connected with like-minded people who are policy people. Some people are interested in membership, and on every board we have 9 executive members on the board out of 30. Now, if you live in, I don't know, a particular constituency, and you want to be on the board of another one, you can do that. We can have like 8 people. I can have 8 people from outside of Rutherford on my board. And I can also serve on other boards. So over the years, we've gone together with people to make sure that their boards are functioning quite efficiently. Now, we have a very low number of people on many of the boards in Edmonton, because people have been defeated about the fact that, how are we ever going to get going here? There's 19 out of the 20 are NDPers. And, what's the point? What's the hope? But if we lose hope, it's like people have said, well, if you were the premier, what would you do? Well, I don't know about you folks, but I'm tired of platitudes that say, vote for us and we'll have an Alberta that's strong and free. We don't even know what the heck that means, strong and free. What we are interested in is the price of food, the price of gas, and the price of our utilities. We don't care about it. We don't care necessarily about equalization and some of the other stuff that along the trail in the last couple of months you've been hearing, well, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. It's a bunch of malarkey because that doesn't mean anything to us. We want the basics dealt with. So if you get onto the board, then that gives you an avenue in terms of being able to talk to an MLA. Now, we can't be talking to the MLAs in Edmonton because 19 out of 20 are NDPers. But we can be talking to MLAs in the surrounding area, Leduc, Devon, St. Albert, you name it, places like that. Now, to get onto the board, you find out when the AGM is. And you're going to say, well, how do I do that? Well, the 30 of you that I'm going to give a card to that are the, I'll call them just the captains. The captains of the...
We call them riding captains for each of the, sorry, not riding, CA captains.
Yeah. Each time you say riding, you owe me $1.
Okay.
So here, we get the AGM, and we find out when the AGM, we go to the AGM, and we get all of you onto the boards. And where's the meeting going to be? One of the things that I wanted to set is I wanted to make it easy for all of you by having the president's name, his or her contact information. When is the meeting? Is it on the second Tuesday or the third Wednesday of every month? Where do they meet? In the community hall? Where is it? What time is it? It's like pulling hen's teeth to get that information right now. If any of you have tried, you've gone to maybe, let's say, information at unitedconservative.ca, and it's like waiting for Christmas.
It took me 2 months before I got an email back.
Say that?
I went to info to find out information about my constituency. I went to the website, I did it. 2 months later, I got an email back.
Yeah, that's pathetic, right, folks? That's pathetic. So we have to make changes, we have to do things, and if we don't get onto boards, it's very difficult for us to write letters and to get any action happening. So tonight, I want to make sure that anybody that wants to get on a board, you're going to know what to do and how to do it. And you can get onto the boards, and you can become an elected official on the board. Then, if you're interested in policy, or if you're interested in this, and whatever, we get to our board meetings, we get various MLAs coming to our board meetings. But you know, you get onto other groups. For instance, one of the things that I've been very passionate about is how we fight forest fires in Alberta. We used to fight them at night. After 1981, we don't do that anymore. We fight them during the day, which is the most ineffective way to do it. We need to fight forest fires. So if you're on a board, you can be involved with one of my groups that does that. Another thing, small towns. How are we going to build up small towns in Alberta when we have all these oil wells around our towns and no developer wants to come in and create a housing development or this, that, or whatever? So when you get onto these boards, and I will help you do that to make it easy to get on. I don't want to give you all my contacts because I don't want 300 phone messages or 300 So 30 of you, we will coordinate that and you'll go over from off for it.
Right, sounds good. Okay, well, thank you very much.
Okay.
All right. Give a hand. All right, so the next guy we have up really needs no introduction, but I guess he does. So, a couple, it seems like it's been a while now, but actually it's all happened in less than 6 months. Now, just a year ago, I thought that Jason Kenney could not be toppled. And the guy, everything that we just, we're about to get to the point of the last AGM, and I thought that they were going to take him down there, and he brought in a busload of people and kept on going. It's like the guy was Teflon or something. Nothing could take him down. He was a giant, really, even though he's not that big physically, but in terms of politically, the guy, he had never lost an election in his entire life. I think he was on track to be our premier for a long, long time. And but then, out of the blue, there was I said, oh, there's going to be another general meeting, a special general meeting. What was this all about? And it was just, it had a big agenda. It had one item, another leadership review. What's going on? And then I hear that there's going to be, it's going to be in Red Deer. You know, I think I want to go to that. But then I hear 8,000 people are going to Red Deer, and they're all paying $99 for the privilege of saying, Jason, you're fired. Then that got the news, and by the time it was about to happen, it was 15,000, and I was part of that bandwagon that went up to the 15. But later I said, what happened? I was talking to Preston Manning. By the way, Preston, quick plug here. My dad, Ted Byfield, died just last year, and his biography is over there. Preston Manning did the forward to it. So if you want to get a book, if you haven't got it already, pop on over to my beautiful wife over there and pick up a book. Okay, done with the plug. So Preston, I asked him, When's the last time 15,000 Albertans paid $99, traveled all the way to the middle of the province just to do one political action? And that would be never. I said, well, how often have people showed up? 10,000 people. And that would be never. And I said, 5,000? Yeah, there's been a few events where we've seen 5,000 politically for provincial things, but never paying $100 every single one of them. So what was about to go down in Red Deer was, in my view, a political miracle. And then I found out that there was this guy traveling all around the province, and he had this group called, oh, it's not up there, Take Back Alberta, and he was the guy that was orchestrating that first 8,000. And his name is David Parker, and that's the guy I'm about to bring up onto the stage.
Can everyone hear me? Thank you, Vince.
Oh,
So,
you're very
what do you want to know? Why are we here?
Oh, that's a good question. Why are we here?
Well, I think we're here because everyone here, you put out a lot of information, you called a lot of people, and you said that we needed a plan, right? People are tired of hearing speeches. So we're going to sit down here, and you and I are going to talk out the plan. Now, when I look at a political battlefield, let's call it, and I decide how are we going to allocate resources here, you always look, usually, if you're in politics, for the places of weakness. Now, how many people here have heard that the Conservatives need to focus on the GTA to win? Has everyone heard that? You gotta win the Greater Toronto Area to win. Everybody's heard that, right? Everyone believes that. Now, why is that? Why does everyone believe that? Because that's the heart of darkness. That's where the Liberals have their stronghold, right? But the Liberals never say, we've got to win Alberta, right? Never happens. Why is that? Because they don't worry about it, right? They worry about the areas they know they have to win. And so while we're sitting there talking about the areas that we need to win and talking offensively, they're thinking strategically. There was 90,000 votes that separated Aaron O'Toole from a majority government and where he ended up. 90,000 Canadians decided that out of 38 million, right? So if you assume that half are voting age, and it's actually more than half, but let's just assume that it's half, right? A tiny fraction of Canadians decided. And I tell you, the Liberal strategists specifically targeted every one of the voters in those specific ridings to get them to win. The Conservative Party of Canada is so far behind, and I'm getting to the point, but the Conservative Party of Canada is so far behind technologically that we're still using a system that was made in 1993. It's called Sims. Some of you may have used it. It's horrible. It's archaic. Nobody uses it in the developed world except for the Conservative Party of Canada. The UCP is even worse. They use a program called Nation Builder. No serious political party in the developed world uses Nation Builder. Okay? And the reason that the UCP got away from it is because Alberta is a conservative province. In fact, we're so conservative that we're the only province that stood up against the COVID tyranny and said, no, enough. There has to be consequences, right? But here's the problem. We can't beat tyrants with one vote. No one you elect to the legislature is going to be able to stop the agenda that is rolling through this province, this country, and this world. Okay? And that's the frustrating part. Because we all want a solution. We want an immediate feeling of good. And that's what I'm trying to show you. That's what Take Back Alberta is about. We have a win. Does everyone remember what it was? The premier of this province resigned. After, to his own admission, getting the most votes any premier has ever got in Alberta's history. Over 1 million votes. He founded, according to him, the United Conservative Party of Alberta. And we booted him out. That is an unbelievable feat. That because we're so close to it, you can't conceive of how significant that is, or how significant what is coming next is. We're going to take over the United Conservative Party of Alberta. The whole thing. We have the numbers, right? Look at this room. If everyone in this room got 3 more people, you could take over every single constituency association in this entire city.
Let's do it.
And I think we should do it.
Yeah.
I think that is what you need to do. Now, I can't give you every step of that path, but he can help you,
Right.
and Roddy can help you, and Vince can help you, and I can come help you when you need help. But the people of Chestermere didn't come and say, David, how do we take over our board? 500 of them showed up, and they took over the board, right? And they figured it out, right? Stop looking for leaders. They don't care about you. I've worked for these people for all of my adult life. Since I was 19 years old, I've been an intern in Ottawa, or worked in Ottawa, or served politicians. And I can tell you one thing, they don't care about you. They care about themselves. And they only care about one thing, getting re-elected. No, it's getting re-elected, I tell you. Votes is the one thing they care about. When they look at a policy, on their desk, they'll say, how will my constituents feel about this? The reason COVID happened was because the polls said they wanted us in prison. The polls were so far to the COVID narrative that the majority of Albertans, even Alberta, thought that it was such a big deal that the unvaccinated needed to be punished, have their rights taken away. See, this is the danger that the American founding fathers feared most. That a mob would crush minorities. That's why they founded America. It's freedom of religion, everyone aware of that? The reason that freedom of religion was so important to the American founders and to the Canadian founders who came here. The reason it was so important was because they were persecuted, because they were a minority in their home countries. This country, and the country south to us, was founded by minorities. People fleeing tyranny to start a new life.
That's right.
And they gave us a system, a political system. And it includes constituencies, and ridings, and provinces, and municipalities, and it's very complex. And most of you have no idea how it works. Who here knows what a memorandum to cabinet is? That's how the decisions are made through cabinet that dictate many of the elements of your life, including education and healthcare. They don't teach you how the system works because they don't want you to know how the system works. Because if you know how the system works, you can show up. For example, the UCP board decides how much a ticket costs to go to the AGM, right? And guess what they set it at? $299. And guess why they set it there? So that a bunch of people won't go. They don't want people to go. They don't want you to show up and have your voice heard. Why? Because they want to control everything. They want to control you, they want to control your lives, they want to control where the money is spent. They want to control who gets the sole source contracts. They want to control who gets the lobbying contracts. They want to control who gets the party contracts. See, he who holds the pen holds everything in government. And they know how it works. You don't. And that's why they win. It's not because there's more of them. There aren't. There's way fewer of them. But there's enough of them. So what do we need to do? We need to, exactly. Has anyone here ever heard of the stock GameStop? Everyone's seen a GameStop rolling around? And there was something crazy happened a few years ago. Does everyone remember what happened? Suddenly this dying blockbuster of a company's stock skyrocketed. And it skyrocketed because a whole bunch of regular people said enough. These hedge funds keep screwing us over, shorting our stocks, taking away the businesses we love, and we're going to screw them over. And so they all started piling into the stock, and people said, it's stupid, it's dumb, why would you be doing this? It's a tulip bulb, it's a fake, it's not real. That stock is still 10 times what it was when it started. It didn't go down. Because the people didn't care about losing money anymore. You know what they cared about? Sending a message. There were stories that I read on forums online of people saying, I lost my house in 2008 and I just want these people to pay. Because here's the truth. 42% of every dollar you make in this country goes to taxes right now. It might even be more. And that is more than the average amount you spend on food, shelter, and transportation. Right? They're taxing us to death to feed their socialist ways. Okay? AHS. Right? $3 billion they were given to get more capacity. And what happened? They fired 10% of their workforce and had less capacity. But don't forget, Hinshaw got a bonus. Right? A big one. They're getting bonuses, and those things are being decided by people that are going to boring meetings and sitting there and voting. That's it. That's how everything is decided in this system that was passed down to us by our ancestors. It's not money that makes decisions here. It's just the people who show up. But guess what? We don't show up. We're too busy. Our families are too important. Our vacations are too important. Our passions are too important. Our hobbies are too important. And we don't show up. And now a small fringe minority with unacceptable views has taken over our institutions. Right? They're teaching that you can change your sex. Let's be clear here, not your gender. They're saying that you can become something other than what you are. That you can imagine a reality into existence. Okay? They are making us treat our elderly as if they are such a burden that we should just put them in the little prisons and let them die alone. That's not the human way. The human way has always been to live with our parents while they age and die. That has always been the human way. And in most of the world, that's still the human way. Not here, though. They're too much of a burden. Now, what's the worst thing that we're doing? We're slaughtering our young in the womb. And I don't care whether you're pro-life or pro-choice. That's what's happening. Right? Whether you're pro-life or pro-choice, our progeny are being slaughtered in the womb. That's what's happening. A species that will not even reproduce will not survive. The birth rate of North America is not replacement. The human birth rate. China is on a collision course with reality. They have an inverted democratic pyramid, which means they have way more old people than young people, almost 2 to 1 eventually. You know what happens then? Those young people are slaves to preserving the comfort of the old until they die. Now, what are we going to do about it? Well, you're going to have to go to a lot of boring meetings. I'm not kidding. You're going to have to go to a lot of boring meetings, and you're going to have to sit there. You're going to have to waste your evening, and you're going to have to think about all the fun things that you could be doing.
This room. They don't have to be boring.
Well, they don't have to be boring.
They are boring right now, but they don't have to be. I can see Red Dog livening up the constituency association meeting.
There we go. I can see that too. I can see really great CA meetings.
Is there a bylaw saying you can't bring a band to a... No, I didn't think so.
And you can do them at pubs. People
do them at pubs. People do.
See, the problem is actually not that they can't be fun, it's that nobody shows up to them at all.
Right. They just turn into boring things. But they don't have to be. I want to just do a little bit of a sweep here. So we've got, how many people here we got from Leduc? Beaumont? Right on. That's pretty healthy. Think they could take over a CA?
You could definitely take over a CA, easily. How many people do we have from Edmonton, period? Is everyone from Edmonton that is from Edmonton, raise your hand? See? It's beginning.
So, I just want to do the ridings here. So what do we got over here? What do you got?
That's Strathcona Sherwood Park right here.
You got a board, right?
Wow, there's a board right there.
Okay. Now we got a slim one over here, the three folks. What are you?
Edmonton South. That is a winnable riding right there. The UCP can take that riding. We need more people there. If you know people in Edmonton South, get pushing people there.
So what we can do going into this, I want to talk specifically tactics a little bit. Okay, so there are winnable ridings. I want you guys to think of the Manning Freeway as a castle wall, okay? Everything inside the castle wall, that's Mordor, okay? Everything outside, that's freedom. So that's right now mostly blue, and everything inside is sickly orange for the most part. That's what we gotta do. We gotta take Mordor, but we can't take all of it this time. But there are ridings that are winnable. Can you talk about the winnable ridings?
So I'm going to pull them up here on my phone. We have 3 ridings. I just don't remember the exact numbers, so I'm just pulling it up here. But we have 3 ridings that we're going to be targeting in Edmonton. The first is Edmonton West Henday. Now, in the last election in Edmonton West Henday, the NDP got 8,820 votes. The UCP got 8,302.
500 less.
500 less. Do we think that this room could not find, if it worked hard enough, each of you 5 people in that riding? Easily. You would just have to put the effort in, right? I'm going to give you another one. We have Edmonton South, which our friends here are from. In Edmonton South, the NDP got 10,673 votes. The UCP got 9,881.
Okay, not Edmonton South. Where's Edmonton South?
Oh, where is Edmonton South?
Edmonton
Oh, there's
South.
a- right there, yeah.
Hey, that guy.
So what I want to say about that is something very clear. We can win Edmonton South. We can this room, if it works together, if it came together and helped those 3 people, could win Edmonton South. Right? And here's why this is important. I want to talk tactics here. The NDP need 24 more ridings to form a majority government. Okay? They are focusing all their attention and effort and energy on advancing, on taking more ground. If we, not the UCP, take back Alberta, if Take Back Alberta does a rear action, we flank them and we attack 5 of their strongholds, it will throw them in disarray. They won't know what to do. And the reason they won't know what to do is because it's completely unexpected. Nobody thinks they could lose ridings. They think we're going to crush the UCP. The tactic here is also psychological. So one of the ridings that we're going to be targeting is in Lethbridge. Okay? Shannon Phillips, everyone heard of her, right? Nobody likes her. She won by less than a percentage point last time. There are 7,000 TBA members in Southern Alberta. We are going to crush Shannon Phillips. She's going to have no hope. But the reason we're doing this is because as soon as Shannon Phillips realizes she's under pressure, she's going to ask for resources to be reallocated to her riding to help her win it. And what many of you probably don't understand, but I know on a very visceral level, is all politics really is moving resources around. Because you have such a limited supply of resources. You have a very limited supply of volunteers, for example. In the 2019 election, to beat the NDP, Jason Kenney didn't even have 3,000 volunteers across the whole province. Okay?
How many does TBA have?
And TBA currently has 30,000 members that have signed up. Now, of those 30,000, how many will do the work? Well, I believe the people in this room are the beginning of the people in Edmonton that will do the work to get 3 ridings. That's what we have to do, 3 ridings. We don't have to win 19 ridings in Edmonton. If we win 3 from the NDP, they cannot form a majority. If Edmonton stops them in 3 ridings, they can't form government. The math becomes impossible. Okay? That's how effective we can be. 3 ridings.
So these people here are the tip of the spear. These people here are going to be doing the guerrilla tactics that throw Notley off her game, right?
Yeah, I want to explain just kind of the psychological nature of political warfare because it's very different, right? When you're a campaign manager, what you're really working on keeping up is morale. You want your volunteers to, and that's what's happened in Edmonton. All the morale is gone. The NDP have walked in, and when they wipe through, people don't look at the numbers. They don't look at that it was only 500 people. They're like, they got 19 ridings. But go look at the federal map. There's only one NDP riding in Edmonton. Maybe two now. Well, one or two.
Oh, we can switch it.
The whole city could be switched if enough people believed that it could be. And I can show you how to do it. The problem is, you have to put in the work, right? You have to go and knock on the doors. You have to go look through the voters list. You have to make the phone calls. You have to send the text. You have to make the Facebook posts. And no politician can do it for you. Okay? We've been relying on politicians to do our politics, and we've lost our civic responsibility, sense of civic responsibility and duty. We don't even know what our responsibilities and duties are anymore because we've become fat and comfortable. And the reason that happened was because things have been good for so long. Canada's a very safe place to live. We're surrounded by oceans, except for one side where the greatest superpower in human history lives. We're safe here. But that has made us complacent and easy to take over. So what do we need to do? You need to set aside a number of hours every week for politics. And that's not reading about politics, right? In fact, take all the time you spend reading about politics and turn it into action. If you, instead of reading Facebook posts and watching videos, if you just took that time and you went out and got 5 more people, there would have been 1,000 people here tonight. If everyone here spent all of the time that they spend reading about politics, doing politics, we would wipe the socialists off the face of the map. Alberta has kept this land rat-free for as long as I've been alive, and I think for as long as almost everyone here has been alive. If we can keep a landmass the size of Alberta rat-free, the only other landmass that is also rat-free, by the way, is Antarctica, in the world. If we can keep this land rat-free, I think we can keep it socialist-free too. But there's only one way, guys. Work. You know, the most famous Albertan right now in the world is probably a fellow named Jordan Peterson. Right? And he has a very simple, embarrassingly simple phrase, clean your room. Right? Well, we can spend a lot of time talking about the WEF. We can spend a lot of time talking about the socialists. But maybe it's time we realize that the reason we're here is because we neglected our society. Because nobody in this room even knows the most powerful document that dictates how we do things.
Well, Dave, just look around the room. This is not typical demographic of Alberta. A lot of older people here, and that's because you understood, like your folks taught you that it's important to be involved in these kind of events. But the next generation, it's not here. It needs to be here, folks. It really does. You got to do, I don't know what you have to do to get your grandkids or your kids here, pull them by their hair, whatever, get them here. They've got to understand that right now, when we're clocking in debt to the second highest debt in the nation, that's not my problem, really. That's their problem and their kids' problem. So they have a very big vested interest in turning off the tap from us, because we're the ones who are putting them into slavery.
So here's the exercise that we're going to begin with here tonight, that we've started in Bentley, went really well, did it in Lethbridge, did it in Calgary, we're going to do it here. Each of you are at a table. For the smaller tables, join a larger table. And go around that table, and I want you guys to come up with 3 things that you want to see changed in your society. Maybe it's burn AHS to the ground. That's one for me. Right? Maybe it's a voucher system for education, right, where the funding will follow the child. Maybe it's policing in rural areas. I don't care what it is. Come up with 3 around your table. And then I I want each of you to send up a spokesperson from two tables. So join with the table beside you, because there's a lot of people here. And I want you to set up one spokesperson. They're going to get 90 seconds to convey that.
I'm gonna get to sit here.
Yes, sit there. And they're going to get 90 seconds to convey that to the audience. Then they're going to leave, and I'm going to show you how everything that they bring up, everyone who comes up here, can be fixed with the democracy that's been handed down to us by our forefathers. So let's get going. Vince and I will go around to the tables. And
We're gonna take a quick break, so.
it'll be 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Come up with it. Pick your spokesperson at your table. They got to come up here and sit in that chair, and I'm going to ask them what they want to fix about Alberta. So let's get moving here.
Okay,